All right. It's for all the people to go around and say, hey, you need to give Canelo Alvarez his props. He went up in weight. He gave us the Bivol fight. He was reaching for greatness and all that. I holler bullshit. Take that crap over to somebody who's going to feed into that and is down with your fanboy narratives. I pay attention to what's going on in fucking boxing. I know exactly what's going on. So can't nobody come and try to get me to give somebody props for something that I know that they didn't want to do in the first place. Okay? So I'm finna tell y'all right now why y'all got the Bivol fight in the first place. And it wasn't for the reasons that they like to tell you Canelo pursued it. It wasn't because Canelo was chasing no fucking greatness. So you ain't got to believe me. Pull your chair up, take a seat, and pay attention, because I'm finna break the whole thing down. I'm finna take their soul today. So you guys say Canelo took on Bivol because he was challenging greatness, right? Okay, watch this. All right, let's start from the beginning. Okay? Golden Boy strikes up a deal with DAZN to sign Canelo for $365 million. Okay? DAZN agrees to pay Oscar De La Hoya $40 million per Canelo fight. Canelo gets $35 million. Golden Boy gets $5 million. Okay? Now the problem comes into play when DAZN got in bed with Canelo. They thought Canelo was the real thing for the most part. They didn't know till they got into business with Canelo that Canelo was an artificial champion cherry picking on the elite level. They didn't know that until they got in bed with him. Okay? So the problem comes into play with DAZN and Canelo Alvarez is they didn't like the opponents that Canelo Alvarez was choosing because they couldn't recoup the money that they put down on Canelo Alvarez. If somebody's willing to pay you $365 million, how much money do you think that they're expecting to get back? Right? So Canelo has a long history of fighting people that don't nobody want to fucking see. Okay? It really starts to get on people's radar during Ivan Yorderum fight. Okay? That's a fight that nobody wanted. That's a fight that people criticized Canelo Alvarez for. Of course, Canelo Alvarez fanboys came out and say he has to. This is his mandatory, whatever and whatnot. Turned out that was a lie. Mauricio Suleiman revealed that no, we didn't make him fight Yorderum. Canelo requested. Okay, so keep this in mind. The so-called #1 pound-for-pound fighter, the so-called $365 million fighter, requests to fight a fighter coming off of a fucking loss who nobody knows and doesn't have a fucking name. Okay? Nobody wanted to see that fight. To the point when he had a fight, the whole boxing world was in outrage. Everybody hollered mismatch, to the point Mauricio Suleiman, crooked ass, had to release a statement saying, you know, I need to review the mandatory process because we can't have no more mismatches like this. This is what they said about Canelo Alvarez. Just to go to show you, Canelo Alvarez has an affinity to fight people who majority of boxing world don't want to fucking see, okay? And DAZN been had this problem with Canelo Alvarez, so I hope you're following me, all right? Now comes in the Rocky Fielding fight, okay? Once again, that's not a fight that DAZN wants, okay? So DAZN pays Oscar De La Hoya a reduced licensing fee, and for the Rocky Fielding fight, Canelo Alvarez only gets paid $15 million, which probably means that they gave Oscar De La Hoya $20 million, okay? When Canelo's supposed to get $35 million a fight, okay? They paid him that because they got tired of paying Canelo Alvarez top dollar for bullshit ass cherry pick fights that don't generate no interest and they can't get their money back. Okay? So Canelo Alvarez gets mad at Oscar De La Hoya. He gets mad at Oscar De La Hoya because in their contract, Oscar De La Hoya has to deliver that $35 million no matter what. Oscar De La Hoya can't get the financial clearances for the fights that Canelo Alvarez is bringing to the table. So they pay Oscar De La Hoya a reduced licensing fee. Okay? So when they pay him that, Canelo gets pissed because he say, look, I'm supposed to get paid this no matter what. Okay? Oscar's like, look, they don't want to pay for these soft ass fights. Okay, so Canelo sues Golden Boy and DAZN for breach of contract. Right? Now, the whole problem with the process is this, and once again, I hope you're paying attention because this all comes together. Once again, the problem is this. When Canelo signed the deal with Golden Boy and Golden Boy signed the deal with DAZN, this is where the problem comes into play. Canelo had no idea that DAZN had say-so on who they approved Canelo wanted to fight and didn't want to fight. It's in Canelo Alvarez's lawsuit. It said Canelo was furious once he found out that the DAZN can choose to turn down certain fucking fights. Canelo thought that he can get this money and cherry pick with these fights. DAZN thought that Canelo was legit. Canelo wasn't legit. So Canelo still tried to play this cherry picking game with DAZN. The only difference is the DAZN wants a return on their money. Okay? And once Canelo found out that the DAZN can turn down fights, that's where the problem came in. Okay? That's where the problem came in. Because they've been losing money with Canelo. In 2020, DAZN platform lost $1.3 billion. $1.3 billion. And do you know what they contribute their loss to? The Canelo Alvarez, Billy Joe Saunders fight and the Canelo Alvarez Caleb Plant fight. They lost money on those fights. But Canelo supposed to be a big star. All right. So this is why Canelo got released from his original contract. Okay. Because he could not deliver fights that DAZN can make money off of to recoup and justify what they were paying him. Canelo points his finger at Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya says, these people that you bringing to me, they won't sign off on it. So therefore he gets mad at Oscar De La Hoya, drops Oscar De La Hoya, gets let out of his fucking, gets let out of his contract. Okay? So right now we have established that Canelo Alvarez has been fighting opponents that don't nobody want to see, to the point even the WBC president has to speak on the mismatching that's been going on. Okay? He's been cherry picking so hard that the DAZN don't even want to honor the contract in which they signed him under because they can't recoup their money. Once again, big star, right? Once again, challenging himself, right? All right. So, Canelo Alvarez gets released from that. Then they end up re-signing him again. Now, this is the question you got to ask yourself. Why did they sign Canelo Alvarez for such big money in the first place? I'm going to tell you why. Because they were buying the Triple G fights. Canelo Alvarez didn't want to deliver DAZN the Triple G fights that they wanted. Okay? He really didn't want to give them the second one, and he didn't want to give them the third one. The problem was this. Canelo Alvarez was trying to figure out a way to give them fights that could produce on the same level as the Triple G fights. So he thought pursuing Undisputed would help make up for that mega fight that he didn't give them. Okay? He thought that that would be another great thing, and he thought that that could make up for the fight that they don't want to give him. Now, why did Canelo Alvarez not want to give him the Triple G fight? Because Canelo arguably lost the first fight. Canelo arguably lost the second fight. Okay? And he didn't want to fight him a third time. This is why at one point in time he said, I'm not interested in Triple G. Triple G has nothing to offer me. Triple G hasn't fought anybody. Now he's talking about fighting Triple G again. Because he figured out he can't complete these contracts and get paid this money fighting Ivan Yorderms and Rocky Fieldings. Nobody ever heard of these people. DAZN can't make no money off that shit. All right? They know that. So, they draft up a new contract. I think it's like for 2 or 3 fights for $160 million. What is one of the first things that they tried to do? Okay? One of the first things that Canelo tried to do is take him up to cruiserweight, put the facade and the mirage on like he's doing something great to once again help make up for their not giving DAZN a mega fight. Why is Canelo not giving DAZN a mega fight? Because Canelo don't want to take dangerous fights. Okay? So he tried to give you the Makabu thing. The Makabu fight is the fight you would have had if they let Canelo have his way. That's a fact. But once again, DAZN is like, here we go again. They didn't want to sign off on that. So the only way Canelo Alvarez can generate the same kind of interest that him and Triple G had when they fought is he has to take on dangerous fights. Fights is going to be like, I don't know if you can win this one. With Charlo, David Benavidez, you know what I'm saying? People like that. Demetrius Andrade, all right? People like that. So, since Canelo's looking at the landscape and everybody's looking more dangerous, Demetrius Bivol was the lesser of two evils. He was the one that he looked at as being less dangerous. Not that Demetrius Bivol wasn't good, but if I got to pick between David Benavidez, Jermell Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, David Morale, and all this, I'm going to pick Demetrius Bivol because to me, I'm most likely to beat him than anybody else. Okay? So they turned down the Makabu fight. They said that's some bullshit. You're not finna do this again. This is why you got kicked out of your last contract. So he went to Bivol strictly because he cannot get away with cherry picking, getting paid all these fucking millions. So when you see him fighting Bivol, it's because they rejected the fucking Makabu fight, all right? And they got tired of Canelo cherry picking, and Canelo, they cannot justify paying Canelo that fucking money that they're paying him for fighting the Rocky Fieldings of the fucking world. That's why you got the fucking Bivol fight, because Bivol is most likely is the lesser of evils when it comes to the other opponents that he has to fight. So that's why people call Bivol a cherry pick. Even though Bivol is a good fighter, Canelo picked him in his mind with, out of everybody that I gotta pick, you are the easiest, so I'm going with you. That's why you got the Bivol fight. From top to bottom breakdown, all that shit is facts. Do you need references? Do you need to know where I got my information from? It's not hard to find. So in a nutshell, it's just as simple as this. You got the Bivol fight because he was forced to give you the Bivol fight because Canelo cannot longer give these people these soft-ass touches and still get paid this fucking money. So he picked Bivol because out of everybody else, he figured he was more likely to beat Bivol than out of the other fighters that y'all want to see. And everybody knows the fights that people want to see. He knows that Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez would do big numbers. The problem is that's not a fight that Canelo Alvarez wants to fucking take. But that is the fight that a platform like DAZN wants because they want to be able to recoup that money that they lost. So that's why you got a Bivol fight, not because he was challenging himself, not because he wanted to be the best. It's because he didn't have a choice and he could no longer cherry pick on the elite level and have these people pay him this fucking money. So you got this fight because he was forced, not because he was chasing no damn greatness.